What up? Trying to get some good lighting. Let me go on the balcony. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. What up, y'all? I'm going to bring in my boy Cody. Some shot. Talk some business. Just got out of the shower. Feeling good. Yes, there we go. See,
Yeah,
it was your phone. It was your phone, your live that was fucking up.
we were live for over an hour.
Yeah, I ran out of steam. What up?
Man, we were just talking about some heavy stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy what's going on there, and I was trying to I made the analogy. I said, look, there's a lot of people out there right now that are acting like thermometers, right? They're reacting to the temperature. They're not creating the change that they want. They're reacting in their environment. And I just said, look, we got to be like thermostats right now, people, and we got to be part of the change of the environment, not reacting to it. And it was interesting because before I can even finish sentences, it was, what do you know? It was like almost like this heavy pushback on like, dude, you're just a rich white guy type of pushback. And I had to just keep talking through it because I think it's healthy right now for people to understand like these conversations are so needed.
100. Like, what kind of stuff were you getting pushback on? Like, what statements?
I mean, it's hard to remember because we talked for an hour, but it's like before you even say anything, they look at my video, they go, "Be careful, Cody. Tread lightly. You better watch what you say."
Right.
And then the defensive, like, what do you know? How can you ever relate? Stick to real estate. You know, all that kind of stuff. And you're just like, damn. How did we become so desensitized as human beings that we can't even have a conversation anymore without labels, attacks, blaming, victimizing, all this stuff? And I know we have talked. They would say, name your black friends. I'm like, oh man, that's messed up. That I gotta literally count my black friends, even be somebody that you would even listen to for 5 seconds that has an opinion.
Right. I think right now what you have is on both sides. It's more than just people being desensitized. It's just people fucking angry, right? And when on all sides, shout out to Grant, what up, man? On all sides, when you have people who are so hurt, you're getting mass generalizations for starters, and you're getting people who are saying how they feel. And people want to be logical about their irrational feelings. You know what I'm saying? So like people, when you're emotional and you're mad, like say like I punch you in the face or you're hurt or your girl just left you. If you're talking to me and you're venting, you're going to say all kinds of shit. But in that moment, because you're my boy, I'm going to listen. I know you're saying some shit that's not perfect. I know you're saying some things that aren't the wrapped in a bow, etc. But like I'm going to be all ears because your girl just left you or you just got jumped at, or, whatever it is, right? So I think what's happening is right now, you got people who are trying to be logical about emotions, and emotions aren't logical. They make sense as to why they happen. But I think that's probably where, on all sides, the message is getting a little bit fucked up, But I think also, too, the comments that I see, at least, and I can only speak as a black man, right? I can't speak as a white man like you can. But I think where I think where the challenge comes is people's ill understanding of that wealth and knowledge is passed down generationally. So, for example, I see the comment that makes me annoyed is when people say something like this, and usually it's white people, not all the time, but most of the time it is. They go, slavery was 200 years ago. Are you fucking kidding me? Like those things don't even apply anymore. And they act like it's so far removed. But what they don't understand, again, is knowledge is passed down generationally. So, for example, my grandfather's dad, right, was dealing with issues of voting, not being counted as a vote, slavery, being forced to live in communities that were filled with drugs, murder, violence. And then remember, just our parents, they barely escaped the hills of segregation, where you and I wouldn't have even been allowed to be friends. We couldn't even drink out of the same water fountain. This is not a long time ago. This is our parents. So you got to remember, our votes didn't even count as a full vote for some time. And so as generations go, like my great grandfather's aspirations wasn't to be successful. It was to be free. And then their next generations wasn't to fall out of control. It was to survive. You know, like my parents both grew up on welfare. Their focus wasn't on success like yours and mine's are. Theirs was getting out of welfare. My mom, you know, my mom's brother was like drugs, like murdered. My grandfather was murdered, like gambling. But people think this is because like black people act like this way. No, it was systematic from 200 years ago. And what you're seeing is the dust settling from what happened before. And that's the lack of empathy that people are missing. Is it's not just because like people want to state facts and shit like, oh, look at the blacks crime rate. Well, look why the fuck we have crime. Because for generations we have been forced and grown in crime areas. That's not a black thing. You put any color there and they're going to get the same result. And I think where you see the frustration from black people especially is when people don't acknowledge that. Like you hear people say like, we all have opportunities now. Listen, if your grandfather was fucking Warren Buffett, then let me tell you, your life would be different right now. My life would be different too if it was. And that's what people got to realize is people always understand the saying, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Well, imagine if for generations, those 5 people, no one made $40,000 a year.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's the thing is where people are frustrated now is because, you know, as black people, we're getting, you know, put in, people are labeling us and saying horrible things about us as a community without taking into account why that is. And that's the part. And then there's the part too where, hey, the situation is what it is. And now we just got to take what it is and we got to fucking do our thing. So my whole thing is like, look, those are the reasons why we're here and those are true and factual, but it is what it is. So now we have to come together and just do our damn thing. And my thing is I'm not fucking waiting for somebody to fucking make a law, give me permission, etc. We're going to fucking do the damn thing. And so, you know, I don't know, man. That's the thing. Like someone in the comments says, Irish, Italians, Jews, blacks have all been slaves. Bitch, we were slaves in America where we are right here. Like, I don't know. I just think the ignorance is just crazy for people to not understand where history played a role in landing us in this spot today. You know, and I think that's the thing is, you know, I'm a big fan of like nobody should have victim mentality. You know, you, me, anyone. However, I think where the message is lost is no one should have empathy for themselves, but everybody should have empathy for others.
Mm.
Like if you're like, if I catch you as my boy and like you're having a moment, I'm like, yo, snap out of that shit. Let's fucking go. If I see you having empathy for somebody else who's struggling, I'm like, that's my guy. He gives a fuck. And I think that's where people are getting lost in translation a little bit. If, you know, if that brings a little bit of clarity, so to speak.
Where do we go from here? You know, because a lot of it was a conversation about, all right, I got it. Right?
Yeah.
There's pain. I'm with you. Racism is an evil that needs to be dealt with. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Police brutality may or may not be a problem. I don't know. You know,
Sure.
It's hard for me to, you know, people do logically default to statistics. But whether it is or it isn't, what is the plan?
Well, I'll give you one thing. So first of all, the only plan is to become, period. Like for everybody who has a problem with anything, you got a problem with the cops, you got to become a fucking cop, right? You got to run that shit. Be the commissioner. You got a problem with fucking the way that the legal system is. You got to become the prosecutor, become the defendant, become the Supreme Court justice. You got to do the thing. So my whole thing is empowerment in becoming, because honestly, waiting on anybody else is a fucking horrible game plan. Having said that, support is always welcomed. For example, when you like, I see, what's crazy thing to me is how people defend the Confederate flag. You go to the South, people love the Confederate flag. I'm like, that literally stood for me being a slave. Like you would own me right now, Cody. Granted that battle went a different direction. Like, are people realizing that? But they just go, nah, man, come on. It doesn't mean either. If you go to fucking Germany, you are not seeing swastikas popping everywhere. People aren't like, nope, that was a part of our history. That's not a thing. Motherfuckers are not like, oh, hey, look at the swastika right now. Like, what? What? But here, oh, Confederate flag, it doesn't mean anything. It's fucking nuts. And people get so upset about the flag, right? Like, hey, if somebody, like when Colin Kaepernick, right, he took a lot of shots for taking a knee. He's like, hey, man, like, you know, I don't think so. And you got to think about it. If you saw your entire family and your friends that were consistently being in your eyes, you know, disrespected, treated less than, less than, not being counted as a vote, you know, if you saw what was happening and you didn't take a stand for the same things that other people take a stand for with the flag, like, how does that not make sense? So, like, take us as boys, okay? Me and you, friends, you're my guy. So imagine if for 100 years I saw you going through hell. I saw you having all kinds of disadvantages. I saw you and your family struggling. And then it was all in the name of the flag. And then I asked you to say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. Like, isn't that a strange request? Like, through slavery, and segregation. Like, I want to remind people, 1960 was not a long time ago. 1960 was not a long time ago. I believe it was 59 when segregation got done. I couldn't drink in the same fucking water fountain. And I'm not talking about way in the past. These are my grandparents. My grandparents were not allowed to drink the same, go to the same schools. And when we tried to go to the same school, they were beaten. The Little Rock Nine. Look it up. This was real. And then you say, now say the fucking Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me? What was that? Now say the fucking Pledge of Allegiance. What? What? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. When you really think about that, it's fucking crazy. Now say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I just think there's a lot of, you know, just a lack of empathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people, again, it's not about like being wrong or right. It's about fucking love. It's about support. It's about equality, right? And if me and you were running a race, and if me and you were running a race for 50 years, and for 48 of those years, you had 2 legs and I had 1, and then you finally got 2, but you're already way ahead of me, and they're like, come on, man, you have the same fucking benefits as me. You got 2 legs, let's go. Like, well, you were fucking lapping me for 2 years, bitch. You were lapping me for 2 years. You know I got to catch up, right? You know I got to get my community, right? You know I got to get these drugs out of my community. You know I got to educate my people and teach them what the stock market is. You know I need to teach them about this finance game because y'all had a head start. So you know I gotta do these things, right? Like, we're running the same race. Okay, let me get my. See what I'm saying? Like, people don't think about that though, and that is what people are referring to as privilege. Privilege is not like Cody had a handout. Right? Privilege is not like, hey, Cody, this, because I know your story and your fucking come up, and it's fucking incredible. But people don't realize is the God-given privilege, which was to be born with fucking grandparents that had 2 legs. My grandparents had 1. It doesn't make you a bad person, though. That's where a lot of people get twisted. Cody is not a bad person for his grandpa having 2 legs, because guess what? My daughter is going to have 3 legs. She's rich. She's balling. She's connected as a motherfucker. My daughter is privileged. See how I can say that? And I own it. I don't say no. Like, if my daughter came in this motherfucker, if my daughter said, Dad, I'm not privileged, I work for my own, I would smack her ass and then fucking not let her out of the house for a year until she has some damn sense. You're like, what? My daughter is privileged as a motherfucker. Like, her standard is Bentley, Corvette, Ferrari, like standing on stages, meeting the coolest people, penthousing. She's 4. You understand the lack of, the misunderstanding, the entitlement, the ridiculousness of my daughter trying to say she doesn't have privilege. That's how a lot of Black people feel right now, right? Again, my parents both grew up on welfare. My mom was one of 13. Community riddled with fucking violence and sexual abuse. And it wasn't because she made a bunch of the wrong decisions. It was because her grandfather had dark skin.
Mm.
And that is a fact. So anybody who doesn't have that is what is
So
privileged.
when you see,
Hold up, my sound is on you. Let me see you a little bit here, Cody. Hold up. I'm gonna put my phone to the ear because I can't hear that well. So go ahead.
oh, it's not working.
Yeah, I can hear non-speaker though. I don't know why it's not speaker, but I'm listening, so I can listen and I can respond. Yeah.
So when you see everybody marching and, saying we want equality, we want police reform, we want, Black Lives to Matter.
Yeah.
Where do you want them to go? Do you want them to go to the education? Do you want them to go and focus on uplifting the communities through more money being pumped into them?
I mean, my personal want and desire is for them to get fucking filthy rich.
Okay.
I mean that it is to get filthy rich and to get get more knowledge. And here's what I mean, like, while the country is literally on fire, right? People burn it up. My office got hit, etc. The stock market is having the biggest gains in history. Motherfuckers are getting stupidly dumb rich. At the same time, while people are seeing it as the end of the world, people are getting dumb rich. And what I want to do, my personal mission, is to fucking educate people so they can take that wealth, pass it on to their children, start that generational education so they can, like I was saying earlier, become. Like, people want a short term, like, hey, what are you supposed to do? It's not a short term thing. What got us here wasn't short term. It was hundreds of years of oppression. Like, it's not going to be overnight, right? So, like, what can white people do to support? Go out of their way to try and create opportunities for minorities. And do they have to do that? No, they don't have to. Like, they don't have to. Do I think that's the right thing to do if they're being empathetic and understanding history? I do. I do believe that. But am I waiting for that shit? Fuck no. Because human beings, all of us, are greedy and selfish at the core. So my plan, my personal thing, which is all I can ever speak for, is to educate as many people as I can. So when these things happen, it's not like, let me protest to get noticed. It's like, I'm going to text my boy because he runs the SDPD. I'm going to call my girl because she is a Supreme Court justice. I'm going to text my girls because they are prosecutors. And that's how change gets made, right? But we have to become first. When you look at the biggest media companies in the world, when you look at the biggest institutions in the world, they are mainly ran by white men. It's just what it is because of how the country was created. It's what it is. I understand that. However, this right now, I hope people get motivated to fucking become so you don't have to ask permission. Because that's one strategy I fucking can't stand, is asking for anything for anyone in life, because it doesn't work. It's just ineffective. And honestly, I'm just not that patient. I want results now, so I'm going to fucking become. So my job is to continue becoming, continue empowering, and we make our change. And that's my plan.
I love it. I love it. It first off, thank you for sharing all that. And that's why I wanted to go live with you. And it was great to read the comments. People are like, Billy's schooling Sperber. And
that's my guy. Like, let me call it on that too. It's like, also too, as black people, I posted this on my IG. It's like, if you have a white person or any other person for that matter who's open to listening, stop yelling at people who are trying to listen. Because at the same time, like, look, here's the deal. This is what people don't realize. Like, as if black people, if the roles were reversed, we would be in the same exact spot. It's just humans. Like, we would be in the same exact spot. Like, hey, I had nothing to do with that fucking slavery. That shit was 200 years ago, right? People are just worried about the fucking selves. And so the worst way to get anybody to do anything is to yell at them. And we just know that from human behavior, right? Let's go into the marketing side. I'm a marketer. You want someone to not buy your shit, yell at them and tell them to buy. So trying to yell at somebody, and that's what I said, like, it's illogical because it's emotional. Right? People are upset. That's what's going on. But like, as black people, when you see a white person trying to understand, our job is to meet that with empathy and to and to educate and support and share the perspective like we're doing right now. Like, but anyone like trying to hate, like saying Cody's a bad guy, he's not. He's absolutely not. And the fact that he's doing this live stream with me says everything about his character. It says everything, because we're here trying to have a conversation to learn more to benefit everybody. And that's the part that people are letting their emotions get away and not embracing that. So people really have to understand, you know, when someone is trying to understand, guide them, support them, one up, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so yeah.
I love that. And, you know, what's great is a common theme in my conversation that I just kept saying over and over. You can't control a lot of the things going on around you in your environment. But like a thermostat, you know, you can control yourself in your daily habits and what you're focusing on, and, you know, your goals and your weight and all the things you can control. People are so out of control right now that the best thing that they can do is just take control of the things they can control.
100.
Give them some purpose and some momentum and some focus. And so be the change. I love it, you know, because,
yeah.
You know,
and also too, to on the protesting kick, you know, I think a lot of people, there has been a ton of benefit. Like the fact we're having this conversation, let's be real, if there wasn't protest, we wouldn't be having this, you know. Now the looting and shit, like I obviously disagree with, you know, especially as someone who got their fucking office shattered and broken into, like. And I don't like when the conversation, people try and group together the looting and the protest, because they are different, you know, and it's a different crowd, you know, doing it. And so I think where the conversation started to go sideways is, you know, you saw some people see the looters, and they try to say, look at these protests, they're so out of control. And it was two fucking different things, two different people, two different energies. And I think the beautiful part about the protests, like I went down here in San Diego, dude, is so diverse. It was mainly not black people. And I think that was the beautiful thing about it now is, you know, hey, when someone is hiring for that next role, that next job, they will consider, maybe I should talk to, you know, more black people. And hey, maybe I will have to go out of my way a little bit for this, or Mexican people or Indian people. You know, it has everybody there. So a lot of people don't realize that the protesting has already done a lot of its job by opening everybody's ears and eyes more than they ever have been in history, and getting unified. You have big corporations speaking about race. You never see corporations speak about race because they're so afraid to offend. You have people going all in and stating these things and talking about them and bringing them to the surface. And so to me, a lot of people aren't giving credit to the fact that the conversation is happening. Well, before you take action, you got to talk about it, right? You got to discuss the plan. So I'm happy about that. You know, now some shit got out of control. Motherfuckers need to ass whoop for sure, because there was people capitalizing, just burning down shit for no reason. Like in San Diego, these motherfuckers have the balls to be Facebook Live while they're burning down shit. Like, what? And most of them not black, right? Like, I mean, you know, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I know for me personally, Billy, I love having these kind of conversations. And it's one of the reasons I waited to go live for a little while, because, you know, it's difficult. There's a lot of emotions,
For sure.
pain, but it's needed. And more people like us that have a bigger platform need to be willing to have these kind of conversations. Because what I don't like is everybody just jumping on a bandwagon.
Sure.
I
100.
like people asking why and where you get your information and doing research and
For sure.
understand each other. And it maybe at the beginning of this conversation, I was, you know, somebody that didn't quite understand, because you can't understand. But
Sure.
every time I have one of these conversations, I understand a little more.
Yeah, it's same. And I want to challenge and encourage everybody listening to obsess about the 90-10 rule. And this is something that I practice in sales, but it's, if you really want to close a sale, then make sure the prospect is doing 90% of the talking. And 90% of what you say should be a question. So we call it the 90-10, 90-10, 90-10. 90% of the time, the customer should be talking. 90% of what you say should be a question, and 90% of the conversation should be focused on the product or service. In other words, same thing applies to here. When you're asking someone to really learn, and even if you have your opinion, you want to shove it down their throat, 90% be questions of what you're asking, and allow them to talk. And keep the conversation focused on the topics, and don't go down fucking rabbit holes and et cetera. Focus on the things that you want to get across and ask questions. And I believe if everybody asks more questions than they do talking right now, it'll be in everybody's best interest.
I love that. I love that. And Bill, just so you know, I got a new business plan for us. I'm going to market to just white people. I'm a room, and you're going to give these we're going to charge, and you're going to give these conversations, right?
Consider it done.
We're going to run.
I appreciate you, brother.
Oh, man. Hey, you know I love you, right?
I love you too. Hashtag iteration.
Dude,
You know, I think also too, the last thing is, you know, where my personal anger, like, because I know people talk about the president, right? And, you know, Trump is an interesting character, to say the fucking least. But what lost me with Trump, and I want everybody to understand this, and by the way, there's things I like about Trump. You know, like me, I say what the fuck I want when I want. So does Trump. I respect that. I love the fact we have someone in office who genuinely does not give a fuck. But the motherfucker really doesn't give a fuck about black people. He doesn't care, because the challenge, like, it went too far. But here's what this is what like got me for him. What killed me with Trump has been not the things that he's done, even though he makes tweets like, I've done more for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Granted, 90% of black people don't feel like that. I mean, if that's not the definition of fucking ignorance and turning a blind, I don't know what is. But what killed me about Trump is his lack of bringing the country together. Like, at any point in time, he could have just came on and said, guess what? Black lives do matter. And he could have said some kind words, shared some history, right? But he didn't. He doesn't. He has, like, the guy is smart. He genuinely has the ability right now to throw out an apology, to show love, to bring empathy, to celebrate a protest, to get out there and go, like, to make a change, right? And again, and at the same time, then when he says, like, yo, by the way, like, I also support our police officers. And then if he has hosted a town hall live with fucking our police officers and black people and shows a discussion and goes live with both sides saying their things and bringing them together and saying, hey, this is good, like we are right now. This is great conversation. This is good. Like, straight up, like, having that and tweeting about those instead of saying, hey, I've done the most for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Okay, like, just literally bring us together. And I think that's the crazy thing, is like, I don't get that. And to me, that's the scariest thing for me, because that to me is like the hateful thing I've seen him do. Like, it's like, it's almost weird. It's like he posts, I've done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln, but all across the country, you have black people marching because they don't feel like they've been heard. Like, what type of arrogance do you have to not see the irony in your tweet? That was like, it still feels unreal. Like, what kind of arrogance and ignorance do you have to, like, I don't get that. So and it's just like, and here's the thing. Instead, he highlights an enemy, right? Antifa. Whatever. You give an enemy. But the thing is like, that's why I reminded my homie is, everyone on this chat, you guys realize this is an American on American war, quote unquote. Like, this is American on American. Like, we all should be on the same team. We are all Americans. But like, it's like, oh, the radical left liberals. Oh, Antifa. Oh, the Republicans on the other side. Oh, it's all these Trump voters. Like, we are an American on American battle, and the world is eating popcorn like, these motherfuckers. Hey, no. Do you see this? Like, in all kinds of countries and shit. They just doing shit like, oh shit, Italians, look, do you see that man? Look at him, no, like, everybody's just clowning. Like, this is American on fucking American. Like, motherfucker, you don't see we're on the same team? Like, this shit is nuts. And so,
I put a post the other day that just said, when would be a better time in history to attack the United States?
Yeah, oh my God, I agree. That's my biggest fear, straight up. My biggest fear is war. Like, I mean, that's my biggest fear. And unfortunately, it would always bring us together more than anything, which is the fucking scary part. But anyways, someone says we need to get rid of the two-party system. I think I fucking agree with that at a glance. Like, I just don't, like, because this is fucking crazy. And I'll be real with you, it's almost like the world is shifting. Well, never mind. All the different parts of the country are so different. So that's one thing. But nonetheless, I think, yeah, the whole thing was just fuckery.
Hey,
Scared, man.
hey, you know what though? I still love you, and I thank you for taking the time tonight to, drop some knowledge bombs. And
Hey, I love you too, man, and I still hook you up with that HJ, no doubt.
perfect.
Interracial, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got you. I got you.
There's no better way to mend black and white fences than just give each other hand jobs. Is that what you're saying?
We just need to pull it together. If we pull it together, that's our slogan. I'm gonna make a logo and send it to you tonight. Pull it together, and it's just two hands fucking yanking each other off. Pull it, and one's black and one's white. Come on, America, pull it together.
Oh
And
man.
that's how we'll fucking sign off today.
All right. Hey, I love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Thank you.
Holla.
Hey, this. I want to watch this back, man, because you dropped some fire.
Yeah, I'll watch it back too. All right, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Later. See you
Later.
guys.
Later, guys. Later, everybody.